Welcome back, Leveling Up Nation. It is your host and success strategist, Brigham Blackham. Welcome to the Leveling Up podcast again. I'm so stoked. We've got Supa Dave Johnson on today, and man, you are in for a treat. I'm going to call this episode a Supa Collider because he is a master connector. You think about what happens when two amazing people get together. What if you had someone that knew how to not just coordinate that one or two times, but has done this over his entire career? He's built 7- and 8-figure businesses, absolutely a gem when it comes to networking. And I met him at the Colorado Totality, and he just lit the stage on fire. I'm so impressed with his energy, who he is, how he shows up. And he is just an amazing example. Last year, 2024, he was 319 pounds. And you can see on the screen, this gentleman is no longer that. He has absolutely taken his health and fitness and transformed himself. And he's become an example, not a warning. And I'm so grateful to have him on today. So welcome to the call, Supa Dave Johnson. How you doing today?
I'm wonderful. I appreciate you having me, Brigham. Thank you, man.
Absolutely, man. I am so impressed with who you are, how you show up. Let's first talk about your background. You have built multiple businesses, and really that comes with making sure you put the right players in place. You have teamwork. It all comes to making sure you've got that Supa Collider mentality of putting networks together. How have you become such a master networker?
I'd say I walk into any room that I walk into, I walk in looking to bring the value first. Never walk into the room looking to extract. So in saying that, a lot of people, where they make a mistake is they will look at networking as, what can I get for me? Not what can I do for you? And I don't think that you can build a network like that, because you just start to become the person in the room that no one wants to work with, because the word on you is they're here for themselves. They don't want to do anything for anyone else. They only want to see what everyone can do for them. So my advice has always been, go beyond the business card. Nurture those relationships and be willing to go on a continuous journey of learning and giving before you ever receive anything.
Beautiful. Go beyond the business card. That could be a hashtag right there. That's so good. But one of the things that really comes to mind is, a lot of times you'll see these, I want to call them like business card hawks, where they're like, oh, I got one here. Here you go. And they come into the room almost ravenous, trying to connect and get everybody's contact information. And it gives you like this almost like eerie feel. You're like, oh, I don't even know if I want to talk to that guy. Do I give him my business card? But
right. And those are,
go ahead.
Those are the people that I was referring to, because they're looking to see what they can get out of it, right? They're looking to find their next client, make their next sale, or just say, hey, I met this person. But there's a difference in meeting and knowing, right? And knowing comes with time. Because and if you go and those are the character, those people come into those rooms as characters, and they get laughed out as clowns, because they're not genuine. The key to networking is to be your genuine self, because one of two things is going to happen. You're going to be accepted or you're not. And if you're not accepted, then you know that you went in as who you are. So there may just be some things that you didn't know, some conversations that you weren't supposed to have at that point in time. You weren't knowledgeable enough. You weren't ready to be at that level. And that brings to mind something else. When you're networking, understand that every room that you're in may not need your voice. Sometimes it just needs your ears. Everything isn't for everyone. So if you're invited into a room, remember, it's not your room yet. It may be your room 2-3 years from now, but you may just be there to learn. Someone may have said, hey, you need to come be a part of this, not because they wanted you to speak, but they wanted you to experience.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Sometimes they just need your ears. I think that's great.
Yeah, because and they see value. They may see value in your memory, or they may see value in your potential, and know that bringing you into these rooms will strengthen you, which having you stronger will make them stronger. They may see something down the road that the two of you, or the four of you, or however many are going to do, and they're going to need you in some way, some fashion, some form. But in this room is their relationship, so they don't need you to take the lead. Your ego has to allow you to be willing to follow and play the background. For me, I've had so many experiences like that. For example, I've been considered on a level that most people may never achieve, or just set out in hopes to achieve for a long time. But for people like Dan Fleshman and Eric Spofford, I've taken part in their masterminds and in a lot of their events, just to help, just to be a helping hand. I'll walk the mic around the room. I'll just stand there and be support. Whatever they need me to do, I'm willing to do, because I know that I'm a part of their network. And sometimes you just have to be willing to just be the help, not have the ego. There's no reason to have ego. There's no reason to say, oh, that I don't do that. You're never too big for anything.
That's beautiful. We're never too big for anything. I think the biggest thing with what you're saying is be of service. Before you ever try to suck any value out of a room, you figure out, how can I add value? Where can I see those gaps, and what can I do to help fill those gaps? That's
Absolutely.
one of the things we do in Gamma Group all the time. We talk about, where are the needs? Where are those gaps? How can we step up without being told? A lot of times people in corporate America or in other places, they have to be told, hey, this is a need, go fill it.
Yeah.
If we're going to be a leader, we have to step into that and not be told this needs to happen. We need to see the need, identify who is in charge of that. And if nobody's in charge of it, you go take charge. You don't need a title to go serve somebody. You don't need a title to go say, oh, someone needs to put a chair on stage. I remember at Colorado Totality, we didn't have anybody on stage left. We need to bring a chair on stage. And I grabbed that chair and I put it up there. It's super simple. You never know when you're needed, but if the calling happens, that opportunity happens, if not you, who? That's huge.
Exactly. That's nail on the head. If not who, you. Because part of networking is also problem solving, right? Quick access to solutions, or quick reaction, or being proactive, right? When people see that in you, they're more than likely going to keep you in mind when something comes that they either need help with, or they just need to bring two people together. This guy has an issue over here. They've met you. They know what you do. Hey, I'm gonna connect you with Brigham, and I need you guys to go ahead and just see if there's some synergy, right? So always be of service first. The universe will feed it right back to you.
That's so good. I was talking a couple months ago with James L. Troy Dixon. I've had him on my podcast. He's the motivator, the absolute motivator. I love this guy. Called him. He was at this airport. He's about to go on his plane, but he's like, hey, you know what? Based on what we were talking about, I need to share this idea with you. He says, before you try and draw from a room, you want to make sure that you are a draw to the room. And I was like, ooh, I need you to explain that. And he said, when you show up to a room, are you bringing energy? Are you bringing people? Are you helping people? If they're in the hall, even though you didn't bring them in there, are you encouraging them to come and participate? Participation shows the event organizers and those people that you care. You're not pulling people out of the event, away from the action that they're trying to develop and they've curated. You're helping be the support. I think that's what you were talking about earlier. Being the support, being a draw, so important. Go ahead.
Are you the vacuum, or are you the fan?
Ooh.
Do you suck the air out, or do you bring the comforting air in? And you have to genuinely ask yourself and honestly answer that question. When you walk into a room, who are you? And when you leave that room, who do you want to be? Because who you are compared to who you want to be is not up to you once you leave that room. People's perspectives and their vision of you is going to be based on what they feel they saw of you.
That's a great point. Are you the fan or are you the vacuum? I think that's such a great visual, and one all of us can understand. How do we have other people interface with us? And whether somebody else likes us or not is irrelevant. We can still treat them. One of the things Greg brings up all the time is, are you a thermostat or a thermometer? Are you setting the temperature of the room? When you walk in, do you command that attention or are you demanding attention? Very different things. Extremely different. Commanding attention, you don't need anybody to look. You don't need anybody to do anything. But because you're there and you're adding that presence, people are like, wow, I should be paying attention because Brigham's really paying attention right now. He's taking notes. Oh, I'm going to get out my notepad. A lot of times the way that you show up will encourage other people to level up their ideals. It'll level up their standards.
Absolutely.
Let's actually talk about standards. You talk about non-negotiable. That's one of the things on your school group. It's called non-negotiable. Why the non-negotiable name? I know this is key when you're talking about fitness, about your mindset. Let's talk about the origin story of this. Go ahead, Dave.
Well, non-negotiable came from me starting to see things that I didn't like. One of the things that I say, and you'll hear me say often, is be the change you want to see. Be an example every single day. So part of my journey over this past year plus was the fact that not only was I overweight and in poor health in a sense, but I didn't have myself in line or aligned with the things that with the way people visualized me, right? So yes, mentally tough, absolutely, at all times. So non-negotiable starts with values, morals, and standards, right? I take that back. I'm sorry. Value, morals, and principles. And those are your standards, right? Beautiful. So for me, I'm noticing that more and more men, I sent a text message out about 2 months ago and said, what are your core values? And I sent it to about 50 to 60 other men in my phone. I'll let you guess how many responses I got that I was impressed by.
Maybe one. I don't know. Two.
One.
Okay.
A man named Alan that lives in Toronto, and his really impressed me because there was a story behind it that involved his father. And I bring that up because a lot of us, or I won't say a lot of us, but a lot of the newer generation, those that I feel we are responsible for teaching to be better men, it missed them somehow, some way. There are no core values. There are no principles. There is no true morality. So where non-negotiable comes in, it's not just, it's a holistic approach to understanding the way a man should walk, carry himself, and go about their business.
Non-negotiables. This is such an essential topic. Last week, I was speaking with Sam Rifkin on my podcast. So thanks for, telling other people, hey, you got to check that. I love that. He's a stud. He's so good. But we also talked about non-negotiables. It's what you're willing to do when nobody's looking. It's what you're going to do based on whether or not it's convenient or not. It's, hey, I wake up this morning, I didn't have access to a gym. So I found, what did I have access to? I had 8-pound weights and I still got my workout in, doing dynamic movements and then going on a walk and getting 1.7 miles in, not because I had to, nobody was watching me, but because I said, that's my standard. This is why I'm going to this next level, because I'm willing to do the shadow work when people aren't watching.
Right.
That's a key distinction with non-negotiables. Basically, a lot of these people are, hey, if I don't get credit for having other people watch me, why am I doing it? That's totally different than I'm going to do this whether somebody sees. I'm going to do this whether it's visibly something that others can be like, wow, you're taking steps. Sometimes we exercise because we need it for our mentality and we need to be that example. It takes sometimes years for those results to show physically, but mentally you build that non-negotiable mentality. As you put in the work, you get the reps in. Let's talk about when you did one of these really crazy things. I remember at Total, you woke up at what, 3 something in the morning and you got a workout in.
2:30.
2:30
to be downstairs at 3:30.
Super early. That's awesome.
That's a non-negotiable for me, and that's one of my non-negotiables. I believe that you should have a non-negotiable call to action. For me, I realized that the later you wait, the more likely it is to not happen. So for me, when I first got on my journey, which was about 2.5, maybe 3 years ago, I was getting up at 4 a.m. doing burpees. And I messed up my feet. So that injury took me out for a while. I couldn't really do much of anything. And I didn't push myself to just say, okay, I'll just work upper body. Right. I was like, I gave myself the excuse to say, oh, well, I just can't work out until my doctor says I can work out again. And packed on more weight. So this time around, my approach was more of, this, and this will all be non-negotiable. And the first thing starts with when I wake up, when I get up, and when I start my day. And it all starts with a workout. So that I will not negotiate on it. What I always say is we do not bend, break, or waver. My grandfather always said, the moment you bend, you are so close to breaking.
The moment you bend, you're so
bending
close to
is the first step to breaking. So we do not bend, break, or waver, right? We will not wilt to anyone's pressures, anyone's peer pressures. Like, stay within yourself. No matter what someone says or how much they ridicule you, stay within yourself. Those values are yours and you have to stand on them.
That's beautiful. So tell me a little bit of the background with why that quote means so much with you and your grandpa. I think it's really easy for people to say, oh, this is what someone said. But when it's a personal thing like that, your grandpa, like, there's a backstory there. Let's hear the backstory.
Yeah, absolutely. So my grandfather was a man of very few words. And he had this deep, deep, strong voice. And with the Haitian, like dialect or broken Haitian, like his English wasn't all that great.
It's almost like a Creole mix of Haitian and English, just kind of mixing words.
Yeah, something like that. But at the same time, I was very, very young when he passed. But I always sat on his lap. He had this white piano that he always sat at, and it overlooked the garden. So he would play the piano with one hand and hold me in the arm, or hold me on his lap with the other hand. And I will always remember him talking to my dad and my uncles, and he was either fussing at them or giving them advice. Those were the conversations that he would have. So, of course, at that point in time, I was so young that I didn't understand, but there came a point while I was at war in Iraq and in Afghanistan, where I started to hear his voice as I would go along. And I didn't too much realize it until I had a conversation with my father, and I started saying some things, and he's like, your grandfather always said that. And he,
Mm.
yeah, your granddad always said that. And I'm not asking him questions. I'm just having general conversation with him. And as I say these different quotes, he'd say, yeah, your grandfather always said that. And then I'm like, wow. And then I started to feel like maybe my dad was just feeding it to me. But once I had some conversations with my uncle, who's in his 70s now, he even said, my dad always said that. My dad said that. And I'm like, whoa, this man, it's either embedded in me or this man speaks to me. But I hold my grandfather very near and dear because he was a man of principle, a man of action, and a man of wisdom.
Beautiful. This last Sunday, I was listening to this conference with one of my church leaders. He's part of the Family Search. If you ever seen that app, it's all about bringing families together from all different walks of life so we can do temple work, so they can have the same access to all these blessings. And he asked me a question basically to the congregation. He's like, who in your family do you look up to the most? Like, as far as your legacy, who is it that you're like, that person meant a whole lot to you? And then he gave us a few moments to just think. And it made me think of my grandpa Eldon. He was a veteran of World War II, always was like the consummate warrior in a garden. He lived and breathed that presence and example of, I can be dangerous, but I choose to, pull the dandelions out. I choose to make sure that I cultivate my life like I do my garden, get the weeds out. I take care of it. He was actually one of those guys who would take a butter knife instead of edging, because sometimes he would other people edge with a machine and it gets kind of jagged. He would literally take a butter knife and he would cut the grass on the edges. That's how particular he was. You can see the detail.
You're right.
Uncommon amount of like precision when it came to making sure his garden was well kept and his home was immaculate.
Detail oriented.
He set the example. He preached more by the way he lived than anything he said. But you look at your legacy, all the people that came before you, we are the sum total of all of their choices and all of the things they said and all of the things that they did, the environments that they put us in. And we definitely have them speak through us, and not just to us, but through us, because they helped raise us. And there's some speech patterns or some things that come into even my language. And I'm like, oh, that was my grandma, or, oh, that was my grandpa Eldon. All of those things, they come out. And I think this is a huge reason why really thinking about your legacy and why people talk the way that they do will elevate your execution and your choices. Like, the reason I do my very best podcast is I want more people to have access to amazing people like you, to share stories that make them think, oh, I've got a grandpa, or I've got someone in my life, a mentor that I look up to, I emulate. I want those ideas not to come to my ear and go through it, go in one ear, not the other, but to go through me so that I can be that example. Now, Dave, what comes top of mind for you? I know there's got other handful of things, but what comes top of mind for you with legacy?
When it comes to legacy, I come from a space where and you're talking about my legacy, correct?
Yeah. Your legacy, maybe the legacy that your business, I want to hear what comes top of mind for you.
For me, top of mind is changing the direction that my family has come from, right? I have to do a complete 180. My family never had anything. And what we did have was taken from us early on, well before my birth. So for me, I look at it as there is always the one. In every family, they have the one that changed the trajectory. And that's who I've set out to be. I don't walk around with a victim's mindset. I don't walk around feeling as if I'm owed anything. I don't walk around feeling as if I'm entitled to anything. I will work for everything that I have, and I will work to leave my family everything they need. So that's where my legacy will be.
I think that's also a conscious choice. People don't just say, oh, I would like to be the one. They have to choose it, like what you said.
You
We
have
have
to
to
choose it.
choose it.
It's a
It's
conscious decision, as you said. It's one that when you sit down and you set out and you look in that, or not when you sit down, when you stand and you look in that mirror and you look in your own eyes, you have to ask yourself, do I truly have it? Do I have what it takes? And am I willing to do what it takes?
am I
And if you
willing to
can
do it?
stare back at yourself and say, absolutely, then you know. Now it's time to do it. Action.
Action. That's so key. I feel like there are multiple ways that we can attack legacy in business, in
Mhm.
networking. But when you think of this idea of a super collider, right? They create energy by smashing these electrons together. There's something that is drastically different than just that electron going around by themselves. You
Right.
have an ability to put people in situations and create opportunity, sometimes out of thin air. But you've seen those examples of putting people together and like, oh, this is going to be amazing. Talk to us about one of those moments where you're like, that turned out way better than I anticipated. Like, putting people together. Yeah, go ahead.
Actually, there's one that comes to mind, and this is some years ago. This is probably 2010, 2011, maybe even
Okay.
earlier than that. But I had a friend who moved back to Nigeria. I knew him from Texas. I had known him for years. Moved back to Nigeria, and he called me one day and said, "Hey, I met with these guys, and they have a crude oil deal on the table. They just need a U.S. buyer."
Mm,
So at that point in time, I knew nobody, and I wasn't going to go around, trying to solicit this particular deal. But of course, you're mindful to keep it in the back of your mind. He would call me. I kid you not. He would call me 2 to 3 times a month about this deal. So one day, I love poker. So one day I'm here in Vegas, and at the time I still lived in Texas. One day I'm here in Vegas, and I'm sitting at the poker table, and I'm just, playing and, kind of trying to have a good time. A guy sits down to my right. He's a big guy, took up a lot of space. And after a while, we started having a conversation about cards, but the conversation led into more. And he started telling me about what he did. And he was in the oil rig supply business.
mm,
So I asked him, did he know any crude oil buyers? And he was like, why? I was like, well, there's just something that came across my desk a while ago. We can talk about it later. So just planting the seed. That was the idea, was just to plant the seed, because going at it, I felt like going overboard and giving them too much information made it would make it look as if I was up to something.
mhm.
So we speak a few days later. I talked to him, nothing about that. I just wanted to make sure he got home, and I started to cultivate that relationship and build that relationship. And then I asked him, I said, do you remember that crude, when I asked you about the crude oil? And I explained to him what I had access to. Now, at that point in time, the commissions on it was 25 cents per barrel, with a minimum purchase of 1 million barrels.
Mm.
He jumped right on the phone, and he got someone on the other end of the phone. We set up a meeting, Google, I believe a Google Meet or something of that nature. We set up a meeting. The deal was done within 8 days of us having that discussion. And I never expected that to happen just by meeting this guy on the poker table.
That's amazing. Now, how can someone not just take that idea and be like, well, that happened in Vegas. Well, that's amazing that happened to you. How can you help them see that that could happen to them too? What is the takeaway from this in your experience?
Be your authentic self, right? Just be genuine and be willing to have conversations with people who do not come from the same background as you, who do not look like you, who you do not, when upon gazing at them, you may think that you will not like them, or you will not have anything in common, right? But look beyond the cover and actually see what's in the book. Speak, hold conversations, start conversations, engage, be approachable, right?
Yeah.
And those things will come to you. Opportunities will come to you, because if you have to understand that sometimes career advancement and opportunities are not often advertised, right? People aren't walking around with banners saying, hey, I have access to this. They're not. So you're going to have to speak to people and see what it is that or how it is that you can be of service to them before they can be of service to you.
Yeah, I love that. One of the things that I took from your story was you didn't just straight jump to business or here's how I can serve you. It was, let's cultivate a relationship first. You didn't stop the poker game. You connected with him heart to heart. You made sure that he got home safe. And then as you built that relationship, then business could come out of it. But so many times people put the cart before the horse. They jump the gun, all these different expressions of really having commission breath and say, hey, let's just make sure this deal happens. You're like, whoa, this is being a very transactional person. We're kind of going back to that guy in the sleazy guy. I picture this guy with a mustache that's coming up, passing out business cards, you know, we'll call him like Sleazy Steve or something. I don't know.
Yeah. And those are the guys. I'm sorry to cut.
Oh, you're good. No, you're totally fine. Yeah. Those are the guys that what?
Those are the guys that end up paying the dummy tax.
Oh, right? Yes, the dummy tax.
Those are the guys that they're going to continue to go into these rooms as new rooms pop up. They're going to continue to go into them, and they're going to pay to be in these rooms because no one wants to invite them. So now you have to pay to be there, and you're still not doing the things while you're in the room to ensure that you maximize your ability to continuously join these rooms.
That's right? So good.
So it just becomes a cycle that they stay in. It's just repeat. It's a dummy tax, man.
Dummy tax. I think I'm going to totally quote you on that. Eventually I'll make it my own, but I love the dummy tax. You have to build
tax goes with everything.
It does. It does. You want to make sure that you do the work, you put in the reps to make sure that you can own that relationship. You can connect deeply.
Absolutely.
Michelle Riddle, she said that's exactly how you make lifetime friends. It's different than just connecting with someone in a generic way.
Right.
You know, right. Greg Kendall, he's had a handful of quotes here too. Check this out. Oh, go ahead.
I said that's also the key. And I'm glad she said that, because if you look at connections to turn them into friendships, they'll last much longer. Right.
Oh,
and then people will be less likely to, I'd say, stab you in the back, because you have a personal relationship. And if you meet true people of principle, then they will see the value in your friendship. Right? Don't look to jump into things just because it can be lucrative. All money's not good money, and some money can be passed on.
That is so true.
But good, genuine friendships, good, genuine relationships, brotherhoods are never to be passed on. They're to be nurtured, cultivated, grown.
Beautiful.
Plant the seed, grow the plant.
This is something that pops up to me as well, because Greg, he just said this: get invited to where people seek your energy, where people are wanting you to be there. We don't need to be in every single room. We want to be in the rooms where people literally want us and where we want to be. That's a huge difference than showing up and you're like, oh, can I please fit in? Please let me fit in. Like, we don't want to be that guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because you're just trying to wedge yourself. At that point, you're just wedging, right? You're just trying to find a space to get in. I mean,
we don't need wedgies. We don't need wedgies, man.
Like, they say get in where you fit in, right? But a lot of times it does not apply to certain types of rooms, because you have to come in and figure out where you fit in. And sometimes you need to be told where you're going to fit, because it's not your room.
One of the other
So
things I've learned from just being part of so many different types of rooms is you just need to show up as your best self. You don't have to fit in.
that's it.
There were multiple times early on in my entrepreneurial journey where I did my best to fit in, and it was dissonant for me because I'm a theater guy. I love being animated. I love connecting with people about stories. And sometimes we talked about just real estate. And I was like, oh, it's really hard for me to get excited just about that portion. Like I do real estate so that I can have the benefits that come from it.
Right.
I'm not the fix and flip guy that gets super stoked about, look at this faucet. You're like, oh, I care this much, man. Let's talk about the story, maybe getting the faucet. Like talk to me about your journey, the experience, but man, the actual fixture, really don't care. So,
yeah. I'm the same way. I do it for the reason, the benefits, the portfolio. That's the reason I do it. But you know, you may find a gem here and there that excites you. A French door that came from 1910 that is still completely intact and barely needs any restoration. But those things are few and far between.
Right. A lot of times for me, I've noticed that it's the story behind the thing that makes the thing even have value. Form follows function. Most of the time, if it functions well and the form is beautiful, you're like, okay, that works. But it's when you have a story attached to it that the growth of the value is exponential. You think of like a guitar. Right. My friend Robin, he's in the final percent. He often does these situations where he has all of the artists go and sign the guitar at his big thing that he does in Wyoming, and they go and sells the guitar. And it's not that the guitar is more valuable, it's that there's a story behind it, there's people, and it's one of a kind. So absolutely.
That's just like Steve, the DJ I travel with and stuff. He has these his line is called One of One. Well, one of his products, One of One. It's a one-time wear that he's performed in all over the world. So you only get access to it one time. And he sells them on his website. And there's always a beautiful story behind it because of his interaction with the people. He doesn't just perform, like he always gives an experience. So there are people out there that are connected to that outfit that he had on in that moment. Right? Like people we've met so many people who have saved up all their money just to fly all the way across the world to see him perform one time.
Wow. One of one. I think that's something that really anchors a moment and makes a memory, because you say, this is completely unique. No, it will never happen in the future. It's never happened before. This is the only time, like right now, this is the only time this episode of Leveling Up will ever air, right? It's the one time people will see the repeat, but as far as being able to comment, connect, that's the value of being here live. So Greg's connecting in, we've got Michelle, we have a handful of other people, but this is a moment, a snapshot. We get to share these heart-to-heart moments. And that's one of the beauties of building a great relationship. I mean, we're just starting out in our relationship. We've been a couple months is all we've known each other, but man, I'm so grateful to get tied into.
We got a lifetime ahead of us, man.
Lifetime ahead of us. And I'm so grateful that you're connecting with other people in my community too. I've seen some of the stuff you've done with the Goldeners on their podcast. You're connecting with Bernard soon. I was talking with him yesterday. This is what it's about. It's not just, hey, what can you do for me? Dave, what do you got for me? Gimme. It's how can I help my audience? How can I help your audience? And it's that collaboration, turning that me into a we. It's building memories. Oh, Greg's got a great point here. Check this out. He said, memories make the thing stop caring about things, right? The story is the only thing that matters. Boom. Oh, bars right there. Greg Campbell bringing in the bars. I love that, man.
Love that.
That's so good. What's your thought on this? I mean, absolutely making memories and make the memories mean something.
Memories are essential, because when there's no you, there will be stories. And just like with my grandfather, I always say my grandfather said, right? Because you have to have those beautiful memories and memories are also lessons, right? There's a teachable moment in all memories to pass along to the next generation. We're fathers, we're friends, we're mentors, we're brothers. At some point in anyone and everyone's life, there will be a time where a story that I have will be valuable to the next step that someone makes. So that's why memories are extremely essential to not just networking, but relationship building.
Yeah, beautiful. There's an expression in Mandarin, surprise. This always comes to me because I love them. But 好记性不如烂笔头. The best or brightest of memory is not as good as writing down or the faintest of ink. You think about that. The faintest of ink is better than the brightest memory. Every single one of us will have these moments that if we don't write them down, if we don't document them in some way, we'll start to lose effectiveness. And I remember listening to Tony Robbins bring up this point that there was this person that won a Nobel Prize because there was a distinction between, here is someone that has an experience, they go to a concert, they hear this beautiful music, and then someone like drops a drumstick or they drop something, and the only thing they can remember when asked about it, hey, what was it like? It was pretty good, except for this guy dropped a drumstick in the middle. You're like, wait a second, you transported 95% of the performance, and the only thing you remember was that little hiccup in the middle?
Yeah.
That's crazy. The difference between your memory of the experience and the experience itself. When we focus on what we truly experience and we're grateful and we have appreciation rather than the expectation of perfection without any type of fault or misstep, man, it cheapens our experience in life. We need to enjoy those moments.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And actually, I'll give you a story on what happened to me to where I realized I needed to be better with the way that I experience things. So I had some time off while I was stationed in England, and I decided to do some traveling. During all of this traveling, I didn't take any pictures. I didn't so much look at buying a camera. At the time, it was all disposable cameras and things like that. I didn't look at buying a camera. I didn't look at anything. I was just going. I was in the moment, living in the moment. So I get back to my base and I find out that someone's barrack room had been broken into. But the way I found out was I got pulled into my commander's office and questioned. So what was thought was that I was hiding out because I had broken into this barrack room, when in actuality I had gone on a 3-week trip and I'd just been gone, but someone brought my name up. Well, show us pictures. I have no pictures. Well, you have to have something. And I couldn't think of anything that I had. And then luckily I started ruffling through my stuff and I started pulling out the train receipts from the different trains I had gotten on to travel. So that's what saved me, was the train receipts. And at that point I said, you know what? I have to be somewhat better. And you would think even now I would be amazing at documenting what I'm doing as I do it. But I'm honestly still learning, because I'll be in the midst of a workout and say, oh yeah, I got to get a little content on this, but I never get a little content on this. Or, you know, I'm out with the family and we're doing things and I'll forget to pull the camera out just to take at least a picture or a quick video. But it's absolutely important to document these memories and make sure that there's something to show down the road.
Beautiful. One of the things that I learned from Bernard in his little book about stop selling, serve, was when you interact with someone, anchor it with a photo. Like we took a photo together when we were in the totality event.
We did.
We think about these small little snapshots. We never know when that photo is going to mean something way more in 10 years. We're like, hey, this was the day. This was the moment when Supa Dave and I became friends. we'll look back on those and say, this is the only proof we have is one photo. At least we have one photo. At least we have one snapshot of time. And I'm very thankful for the final percent and all of these wonderful people in my life that are great at documenting. I'm still getting better at documenting. I definitely want to get more dialed in on doing that. But this podcast has been very helpful for me to say, I'm not creating content, I'm documenting conversations. And connecting with people like you that just inspire me. Now, to wrap this conversation up, we talked about this idea of a Supa Collider. What is the one thing that you need to do as a speaker, as a trainer, as an information product salesman, all these different ways that you make money and monetize that message to bring people together so that the sum of all the parts are way better than doing it by yourself?
Well, I like to tweak that just a little. I like to talk to the people that are just starting to set out on their mission and give them a piece of advice.
Love it.
We spoke about being resourceful and being giving when you walk into a room, right? But while you're in those rooms and you have those conversations, don't just take someone's contact. When you take their contact, make sure in your notes you write down what you guys spoke about, how it made you feel, and what you feel you can provide for them. Do not put what they can provide for you. And when you do that, if and when you guys cross paths or speak again, you're able to tell them, hey, I met you here and we spoke about this. Or if you reach out and you guys have another conversation, you can jog their memory about what you guys spoke about. It will mean more to them than you can imagine. And that's one thing that will further your relationship with any and everyone that you come in contact with.
That is gold right there. So good. Thank you so much for sharing that tip. And that's not just for new people, guys. That is anybody that you meet. Every single person you have the opportunity to come in contact with. If I've reached out to someone in the last little bit, it's because I don't have their photo yet in my phone. You appreciate somebody differently when you know, hey, we have a personal connection. I have your photo. I know things about you. We've built a relationship. It's not surface level. You have to go deep to be able to have a transformational relationship. If it's surface level and it stays surface level forever, you don't have a great relationship. It's really easy to go from, you no longer serve me, I'm going to go to somebody else. That's not what we're doing here. And to be a Supa Collider, like we were talking about, the whole concept here, it's about going really deep with a relationship and knowing as much as you can about them so you can figure out, how do I serve? How do I give? Ooh, Michelle, she said, appreciate humans. Appreciation goes so far.
This is
be
true.
Lavish in your praise, and that approbation that you give people, be so conscientious of the compliments that you give. And when you notice something that you like about someone or that inspires you, let them know. Like there's no downside to that, right? He does so great. And I'm so impressed with not only the work ethic that you've put in, but the consistency. That's one thing that is uncommon, is how consistent you are. So to wrap this up, go ahead. Is there any other things that I didn't ask you that you wish that I had asked you? That you're like, oh, this is something I wanted to leave with the audience.
Master being proactive and adaptable, right? Have the ability to find, I'd say, creative solutions, know what your tools are and what tools you have available, as well as are available in your network. Leverage them, and not just to connect, but also to bring value, right?
Absolutely.
And that's what I'll leave you with.
I love it. Focus on bringing value. I think that's been a great theme as well this whole time, is how you show up in one thing will impact how you show up in everything. If you're a person of value and you always look to serve, and you think, even when you're inputting contacts in your phone, how can I serve that person? The focus of what happens and the attraction that comes you're going to be able to serve that person and build a deeper relationship than if you're like, oh, what can I get from this person? Totally different. So thank you, Supa Dave Johnson, being on the podcast, man.
Greatly appreciate it.
We're definitely going to have
me.
you on again, man. This is just the start of a beautiful thing. So grateful for you. Really appreciate all of you guys for tuning in, sharing your comments. If you want to continue to connect with me, guys, go to thefinalpercent.com/Bergen Blackham. I want to have a conversation. If you want to level up your life, your storytelling ability, being able to really harness the ideas that you have and make it something meaningful, that's what I do. I want to help you help yourself. And God bless, guys. Have a great rest of your day. I'll sign off right here, and we'll see you next time.